As the president of the Delta Beta Omega chapter of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the Phoenix Akarama Foundation, it is my honor to participate in the 4th Black, Brown, and College Bound Boot Camp program. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated had its humble beginnings as the vision of 9 college students on the campus of Howard University in 1908. Since then, the sorority has flourished into a globally impactful organization of more than 300,000 college-trained members. The AKAs have dedicated implementing programs of service that enhance the social, economic, and educational well-being of the local, national, and international communities. Programs remain the heart of AKA. The local chapter in the greater Phoenix area, Delta Beta Omega, began service to all mankind in 1946, 75 years ago. As a graduate chapter, the sorority has evolved as a chapter striving to meet the needs of an ever-changing society. Alpha Kappa Alpha's sorority signature program is the College Admissions Process, or #CAP. It was designed specially to assist students in high school, on a junior and senior level, to equip them with the knowledge and tools needed to achieve a bright and prosperous future.
Thank you, President Geer. And as many of you know, we are adhering to CDC guidelines of social distancing and to remain safe during this videotaping. So that you can hear me a little better, I just want to remove my mask at this point. Good afternoon, parents, students, and educators. My name is Michael Kelly, and I'm here to welcome you to this special session of Black, Brown, and College Bound. Our theme is Education in a COVID Country. Our team thought it important to share information with you concerning challenges associated with trying to educate teens and young adults during this COVID-19 pandemic. All information, videos, documents, and information links shared by our presenters will be posted on our landing page for later reference. Additionally, we will post answers to any questions not addressed during our question and answer period. So, I'd be remiss if I didn't pay homage to Dr. Eula Dean. And Dr. Eula Dean is the co-coordinator of this special event. Dr. Dean has been a longtime advocate of educational advancement and youth advocacy in many capacities, and she's also a member of the Delta Beta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Inc. This symposium will feature speeches and workshops focused on leadership during the pandemic, myths and facts related to COVID-19, challenges associated with virtual learning, and how to be creative in the face of substantial challenges. You will hear from a high school superintendent, medical professional, education administrators, and master of spoken word. The hope is to equip you with tools successfully achieving the educational goals of your children and your family. There will be a keynote address with 4 presentations. During each presentation, we encourage you to use the Zoom chat box to ask questions. We have set aside specific time at the end of all presentations where speakers will provide answers during the allocated time period. If we do not get to your questions, answers will be posted on our landing page. To set the tone for this event, I'm honored to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Stacia Wilson. She's the Associate Superintendent of Tempe Unified High School District, and Dr. Wilson's roots run deep in the Tempe Union High School District. Not only is she an alumnus of the school district, but she has worked in Tempe Unified School District for more than 2 decades. She began her career as an English teacher at Desert Vista High School, and Dr. Wilson earned her master's and doctorate degrees in education from Northern Arizona University and her bachelor's degree in English secondary education from Hampton University. Please help me welcome Dr. Stacia Wilson.
As you all know, we are in the midst of a pandemic, but I assure you that in this space that we are in now, we are following CDC guidelines. We are socially distanced, and so you all can hear me and better understand what I have to say, I'm going to go ahead and remove my mask and tell you a little bit about myself. I am a native of Arizona, and I went to high school in Arizona, much as you are now, and did all of my K-12 education here. After high school, I decided to attend a historically black college, and I went to Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia. And after graduating from Hampton University with my degree in English secondary education, I came back to Arizona and started teaching high school English. And so I have been in education for 20 plus years. I've been a high school English teacher. I have been an assistant principal. I have served as a principal. And currently, I am the associate superintendent for Tempe Union High School District. And I'm excited to be here today to talk to you all about COVID and how that has impacted education in America. Let's just kind of talk about education, because it seems like so long ago at this point that we were doing our normal day-to-day activities. We were walking the hallways. We were having lunch. We were at the school activities. We were at high school sports and events and just enjoying ourselves, going to classes, seeing each other. And I'll never forget, it was March 13th, 2019, when I got the call from my superintendent, and it was during our spring break, as many of you probably remember getting your communication from your school districts, and all of a sudden, this pandemic that we had heard little things about, January, February, but in March, all of these cases of infection had risen to numbers that were very concerning, and I got the call that night, "Can you come into work?" And on that Friday, we sat around, as I'm sure many district officials did, and we thought, what are we gonna do? At that point, because I work for a high school district, we saw that our 2 elementary feeder school districts were closing, and we knew that probably the best decision at that point, and especially us not knowing much about the COVID virus at that point, that we needed to not have students return to school, and that we were going to have to serve them in some type of virtual form. And like many districts, there were many questions that arose from that decision. We thought about, how are we going to communicate this to families and to staff, that after spring break, they're not returning? We thought about, what is virtual learning going to look like for our students? Do they all have laptops? Do we get them Wi-Fi? How, with them being gone, do we manage getting them these resources and materials that they need? We thought about, what will we do with our support staff if our students aren't on campus? So much of school and the business of school and education involves people working around students. And so that was a piece of, how do we help people keep jobs and support them in that? And then we thought about, how do we continue to provide supports, especially in the social emotional area for our students, and even in some cases our staff. And the other piece was, how long is this gonna last? Is this gonna last the rest of the school year? What about prom? What about graduation? What about spring fling and all the wonderful things that happen? What about our seniors? And we just were thinking about this final quarter and what were we going to do, having no clue that a year later we would still be dealing with this situation. I think we all kind of figured we'd get to the summer, and I think we hoped that things would improve. But ultimately, what my district did, what your districts did, what districts around the country did. They did the best they could with the resources that they had. So let's talk a little bit about education before COVID-19. It definitely was filled with lots of challenges, and I could probably keep you staring at a screen for 3 hours to list all of the many challenges that we face in public education, but I'll just highlight a few. And the first being that, funding of our schools has been a struggle, and our schools and our districts do the best that they can to get the resources and the supports that students need and that teachers need to support curriculum. Also, we have our buildings that are in place, and if you're in a district that is older and schools that are older, there may have been some improvements made, but that happens at a really slow pace. The other challenge has been equity and achievement, and those are areas that we were working hard on. We know that there were students from different subgroups and marginalized groups where we had learning gaps across the nation when you look at English and math test scores. And so the other piece, with all of the social media and the different threats that had happened, and it seems like so long ago when we had to worry about school shootings and things in the safety of that nature, but it was how do we provide the social and emotional supports that our students need. The other piece, and it's really hit Arizona hard, is teacher shortages. And the truth is, we're seeing teachers leave the profession, and we're also finding it difficult to find teachers to come into the profession, and in particular in the state of Arizona. And so that was also another big challenge that we had, is I think teachers just feeling overwhelmed with the work involved and yet the lack of resources and support. And so our state really struggled in that area. And really, schools and districts were rallying around these things, trying to support them. Many of them talk about this multi-tiered system of support where you have these different folks coming in and support you all as students if you experience challenges with learning, if you're experiencing challenges at home, if you're experiencing challenges, any type of challenge that you're facing. The school has become, in today's age, this place that all of these things are expected, all of these supports are expected to be provided, and it's just been difficult. And schools were trying to create access and opportunity for all students, regardless of their backgrounds. And so these are some of the main challenges that school districts were facing prior to COVID. So once COVID hit, and our schools were forced into a virtual model, these issues became even bigger for the schools and for districts to figure out. It exposed our areas of neglect and when I say neglect, with how we fund our schools, with the resources provided to schools, and some of the support of buildings. So this was exposed even more. We experienced in that last quarter even larger learning gaps with our students. For me, being in a high school district, we have some students who were having to go and help work and help to provide. Obviously, COVID has impacted the economy and jobs. And so even for some of our students and their families and their parents, this has impacted their ability to bring money in. And so schools became kind of the center for students to get support. We're distributing meals at this point. And eventually, as the governor's executive order happened, we were able to bring some students onto campus if they were in homes where they couldn't focus and really focus on school and work on virtual learning, or if they didn't have Wi-Fi, if it wasn't conducive to learning, we were able to bring some students onto campus to at least experience their virtual learning on campus. And then there were new challenges. So now schools are faced with, we already had funding issues prior to COVID and being able to meet all the needs of our students and staff, but now we've got to look at our buildings and redesign them. Schools are designed to be interactive. And so what happened with COVID is all of a sudden we need to design them to keep people separated, to keep them safe. So we had to order plexiglass. We had to order all kinds of what we now call PPE, personal protective equipment. So we needed sanitizer. We needed cleaning solutions for the desks. And we needed things that were safe for students to use and safe to use in schools. We had to reconfigure and look at how would classrooms be designed. The buildings aren't going to change, but we have to figure out how to accommodate all the students. And in an elementary school, that is difficult, but at least you don't have as many students in a class. Imagine high schools where there are 1,500, 2,000, 4,000 students, and usually these are packed hallways and areas where students congregate and classrooms with 30 to 35 students. How do you do social distancing with that? So you have parents being concerned about the safety of students if they return, you have school officials feeling concerned, and you have teachers and support staff being concerned about how will they be safe. The other piece we had to discuss was how are we going to do virtual learning? I think many districts had different blended platforms, and many of you may use them in your schools where you have a learning management system. It might be Canvas. In our district, we use Schoology. There are different platforms. Well, while we provided professional development for staff to learn and get familiar with that and use it, not everybody was using it. So all of a sudden in a virtual environment, everyone needs to learn how to use a learning management system and some type of virtual platform. So we were almost forced into making sure that everybody knew how to use that, and you're trying to reach students now, and instead of being in front of you, everyone is a little square in a box, and how do you connect? And that brings me to the next point, which is connection. I think at this point we're all Zoom meetinged out, Google Meets meetinged out. I mean, even now you're listening to all of us and you're looking at a screen. And so that was probably cool when you were doing that with your friends and you're looking at TikTok videos and you're doing things, that's great. But to have to sit through school all day and that's it, where you're just looking at the screen all day and getting your lessons, I think we're all a little tired of it, right? And I think with teachers trying to be creative and we're looking at different apps and different platforms and different strategies to reach you guys and make it interactive so that you all can learn the material. But it's not like in regular class, right? Where you could go to your teacher and get up and go over and ask a question. Now it's the, can you click the hand raise on there? Well, what if all these hands were raised in the virtual thing? And how do I connect with my teacher? I need help. Or you could ask a friend. Is just different. And with that difference comes some challenges. And so we all had to navigate through that. The biggest thing that we're seeing now that we're a year in to this pandemic is the student support, and in particular, at a social, emotional level. It's been difficult, and I can imagine just for you all as teens, where you're not able to really go out and hang out with your friends. You're not going to the plays. You're not going to a dance. You're not going to the games. I think at this point, for any athletic events that are going on now, it's only parents, I believe, who are able to attend, and we're trying to monitor the numbers. But it's just, you all want to get out. You want to be with your friends, and you're not able to. And there's a disconnect. And let's face it, this whole thing, the online piece, it's not the same as being in person with your friends and hanging out. Just like school's not the same, just going on and clicking onto a link and accessing the lesson. And so for our schools, we definitely are seeing the disconnect that's taking place. And what's been really great is that for you all, many of you and other students have shared that this has been a difficult time. And in some cases, some students have just shut down because they're tired. And in the words of one student at one of our high schools, like, I just can't do this anymore like this. So we are hopefully getting to a place where with vaccinations, with learning more about the virus, with more studies being done on how this is being spread, and we're learning that it's not spreading as much through schools if people are following the mitigating behaviors. Many of the schools plan to return to some type of in-person learning after spring break. But some districts, and you may be in one, they are already back and you've been in session. And so you're in school, you've got your mask, you probably have to get up when you're done with lunch. There's specific ways that you have to navigate campus now just to keep you safe and to keep others safe. But I will say this, with every challenge, there comes some opportunities. And so I will say that virtual learning and what we've learned in this will allow us to keep students connected in the future in ways that I think we just kind of said, oh, you're out. So if you're really sick and you're at home, or if you're back east later, you know, or for students there on snow days, I think there was an idea that before, if you weren't in school physically, we could not have school. So the opportunity is now there that as students are out, and I think many districts have purchased equipment and different things like that where you can virtually enter a classroom and still be a part of class and have school. So that opportunity is there if students can't physically be in classes, and I think we will see districts, you know, start to use those things. The other piece is that it has expanded our resources and our approaches to learning. With this, lots of wonderful technology has come forward, lots of wonderful apps. I'm sure you all are familiar with some of them and you're using them to get help, and different instructional strategies and ways to connect with teens in 2021. There are ways we can connect with you that I think are more to your style, as you all have probably tinkered with technology since you were young. And in some cases, you may have been sitting in a class that was designed like it was in 1980 or 1990. But now that we were forced into this mode to deal with technology, it's expanded our resources and what we can do to reach the learner and the high school student learner. And finally, I think it's been a way for educators to unite around K-12 education and to be clear about what the needs are and what supports are needed and what funding is required, frankly, to keep students safe and to meet the needs of you all. So we had challenges prior to COVID. COVID kind of exposed that a little bit more, but it also brought some opportunities for us. And so I am so hopeful that in the future, we will be able to come together. We will be able to really look at our schools, elementary and high schools, and find better ways to support students and our staff and make them wonderful learning centers where every student has the opportunity and the access to achieve. I'm honored to speak at the Black, Brown, and College Bound event. This has been a wonderful opportunity for me, so thank you so much. Thank you to the parents and the students who are here and taking part of this wonderful experience, and I look forward to any questions you may have later on in the program.
Next up is Dr. Angela M. Allen. She has a PhD from Arizona State University College of Nursing and Healthcare Innovation, a Master's of Arts in Teaching, and a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. She's also a certified rehabilitation registered nurse with a specialization in research. Dr. Allen was appointed to serve as a research nurse at Banner Alzheimer's Institute and Banner Sun Health Research Institute. Dr. Allen holds a position as clinical professor at Arizona State University, and Dr. Allen has been employed with Banner Health and Arizona State University for over 10 years. Please help me welcome Dr. Angela Allen to present facts and myths about COVID-19.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly, for that wonderful introduction. But to maintain CDC precautions, we are staying socially distanced and wearing our mask. So that you may hear me a little bit better, I'm going to take my mask off. So we'll get started. COVID-19, coronavirus, a virus that has been around for quite some time. It needs no introduction because we've been talking about it throughout the whole year of 2020. We've talked about how it has affected us as individuals, our families, our friends, and our coworkers. We've talked about how it has taken lives that were running around and enjoying the day-to-day activities, lives that were going to work, and of course, lives that have been going to school. Coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, is a virus that has had a huge impact on our respiratory system. But we also know it has had a huge impact on our mental state. It has had a huge impact also on our culture. As you know, African Americans have actually been affected by the coronavirus in an substantial number. That number has taken the lives of our loved ones. But what it also has done is allowed us to understand things that have been shared throughout history. Things such as the Henrietta Lacks study and also the Tuskegee study. These were stories that have been shared and have been passed down from our family history to tell us we should not be involved in anything that is scientifically or allegedly scientifically proven. But what's so important as a scientist, and many of you all know I do research with Alzheimer's disease and related dementias, one of the things that I know that is true, science is a fact. What's a fact is that coronavirus has taken so many lives. What's a fact is that coronavirus has had an impact on people even after getting it. These are called prolonged diseases or effects as it relates to coronavirus. What's a fact? That it has taken approximately 77+% of our adults. What's a fact? That has taken a large percentage of our other minority population. And what's a fact? That it has taken 13% of our children and a small percentage of our babies. Coronavirus does affect everyone. Many children believe that it is something that cannot affect them, but I want to say, as a person who works in a college setting, it does. Every day I'm hearing someone from my class or in my community saying that they have had some effect of coronavirus. And coronavirus has also caused them not to do their day-to-day activities. Did you know, according to a study that has been done by Loewenstein, in 2020, it stated that coronavirus does affect a large percentage of our children, but because of the minimal signs and symptoms of the coronavirus, they are obviously not noted. The concern, and it has been stated even by Dr. Fauci, that having coronavirus may affect the individual, and it may affect the individual, especially children, at a minimal amount, but that is something that can be transferred to another person, an adult perhaps, or an older age individual that may have comorbidities or multiple comorbidities. What does that mean? That's an adult or an older age person that may have had diabetes, hypertension, and of course some type of respiratory issue. So here it is, an individual, a child perhaps, that may have had the coronavirus or have the coronavirus, and they're giving their family members that warm hug, and unfortunately they're giving them more than just a hug. They're giving them something that they don't wish that on anyone, coronavirus. So, what should we do? We should acknowledge the fact that it does affect humans. We should acknowledge the fact that it does affect our bodies. We should acknowledge the fact that it does transfer from one person to another. We are encouraging people all over from all ages to please, if there are ways in which you believe that you can prevent coronavirus or the transmission of it, such as staying at home, finding activities that's going to be enlightening to you and or your family members, or perhaps staying socially distanced when you're out, even when they're talking about trying to open up the schools. Maintain those CDC precautions, such as wearing your mask, washing your hands, staying socially distanced, and wiping items down. Also, this is a disease that can also affect us emotionally. So we know that children want to go to school, and we're encouraging them to go to school, but we also want them to be safe. Coronavirus has affected us in so many ways. And one of the things that we need to acknowledge that it is a disease, it is a virus that's not going anywhere too soon. Coronavirus is actually a direct contact respiratory disease. What happens in a direct contact? An individual can put their hand down in the same location where another person had their hand, or in a certain area or surface area, and take that virus or that area in which the person who was infected, pick their hand up and rub an open area on their body, or particularly in their facial area. The virus can actually travel from the nasal area, the eyes, or even in some cases the ears and mouth. This is why we're encouraging people to wear their mask, and we're asking them to wear it in a more appropriate way. Obviously covering the nose, covering the mouth, and if you can, encouraging people to wear some eye gear over their face, whether it's their glasses or some shield if possible. But the other thing I've been hearing in regards of how do we get it and who can and cannot get it, coronavirus actually affects all humans in the same way. There just have been opportunities where the virus does not go or get into the areas of those individuals. We've been hearing that coronavirus does not affect children. And as I've shared earlier, if a child actually gets coronavirus, they may have milder signs and symptoms. We've been hearing coronavirus does not affect an individual or group of people because of their skin color. That's not true. We know that people of color, black and brown, have been affected by coronavirus not just due to illnesses, but also due to death. So again, let's go back to the vaccines. Vaccines are out there. There are 2 current vaccines, those vaccines that have been approved, and by the way, they are FDA, EUA approved. That's emergency use administered approved. These were vaccines that we are very familiar with, the Pfizer and Moderna. These are vaccines that currently have been tested. The Pfizer have been tested from people, I think, at the age of 16 and above, and the Moderna was at the age of 18 and above. And we know that currently they are now testing viruses for children, so that, again, those numbers, as we look at the coronavirus and the impact that we have on each other, can obviously decrease. We also know that with the viruses, there are people, as I shared, that may have some concern due to their history or other people sharing the history. But what we don't want to do, we do not want to make history in our families. We do not want to make history in our culture. We don't want to wipe away a whole generation because we feel as though that the vaccine is not effective. We don't want to wipe away a whole generation because we feel as though that we are immune to the coronavirus. So one of the things as a scientist, as a healthcare professional, as a person who's working in the community and in the clinical area, I see death all day long, whether it's physical death in the hospital or emotional and mental death in the community. But what I don't want to see is us ignoring something that is so serious. It was considered a virus that started in 19, that wiped out 2020, and now what we want to do is make an impact, a positive impact on 2021. Coronavirus is real. The vaccine is real. And our families who are no longer with us are real. There are some myths and facts about the coronavirus. So let me just share a little bit about them. Myth: you cannot get it if you are a person of color. Fact: all humans have gotten coronavirus. As a matter of fact, there have been an increased number of people of color, black and brown, who have had the coronavirus. Myth: you cannot get it if you are a person under the age of 16. Fact: even children have gotten the coronavirus. 13% has been recorded, 13% of children have actually been affected or have been confirmed cases of the coronavirus. The problem or the concern is that there are mild cases, but these children have transmitted the coronavirus to other people. Myth: you cannot get it if you live in a very wealthy or urban area that may obviously allow you to afford not to get it. Fact: even in the wealthiest areas, people have gotten the coronavirus. It's been well documented that the coronavirus is everywhere. The concern in that area is because they may have better access to healthcare systems. They may have access to some of the CDC precautionary areas that we're addressing, and they also may have access to their primary care provider in a different fashion. So we want to dispel those myths and produce facts. We just want you to stay safe, we want you to stay healthy, and we want you to stay informed. So as an adult and those who are young people, we want those numbers to decrease. We want those numbers to go down, and we want everyone to understand that this is a serious matter. Thank you.
Our next presenter is a native of Chicago, Illinois. Nicole Collins is a residential counseling faculty member at Mesa Community College. Holding her counseling certificate from the National Board of Certified Counselors, Nicole has obtained a certificate in diversity and inclusion from Cornell University, New York, in addition to her MS degree in clinical counseling from the Rosalind Franklin School of Medicine and Science, and a BS degree from Purdue University in consumer sciences. Nicole prides herself on aiding students in addressing their personal, psychosocial, educational, and career development needs. It's an honor to introduce Nicole Collins.
Hi, thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. During our presentation today, I'm starting off with my mask on. We are 6 feet apart according to the CDC guidelines. However, so you can hear me better, I will be taking off my mask right now. But I would encourage you to make sure that you follow the CDC guidelines in all social situations for yourself. So welcome. I'm Nicole Collins, and I will be representing the college side. College is such a wonderful place to go. It's a place of higher learning. It's a place where you get a chance to meet new people, learn new things. But college during a pandemic, no one's ever done that one before. So it's hard. It's tough. It's challenging to parent students right now, and it's really hard to be a student. For instance, my son, he's a freshman now, right? He's a freshman, and he didn't have the traditional 8th grade celebration or anything like that. So those traditions that we would normally have, the things that we would normally celebrate, weren't there. And so I wasn't able to relate to him much in terms of how hard school was. And for college students, it could be a little tough too. Here at Mesa Community College, some of the issues that we've been dealing with students, for instance, is how do I do this? I didn't sign up to go to school online. I signed up to go to school face-to-face, or I saved all of this money and I made sure my job was properly notified, and now I'm sitting here and I do not have the ability to go to school this way. I'm trying to take care of children. I'm depressed. I have anxiety. I have fear. I don't know what I'm doing. I have never met my professor. I need face-to-face interaction. I don't have the money, the resources. Where do I go to get a vaccine? Where do I go to get tested? So many questions. And it's hard to find answers sometimes and to know what answers are right. But the good part about being here at this college is being able to have a conversation with someone like a counselor, an advisor, someone who you can speak with, a friend, family member, someone you could talk to share these moments with. Because the truth is, none of us know how to navigate this space properly. We're all learning as we go along. So give yourself a break. Give yourself some time to breathe. Share your heart. Share how you feel with someone you trust, and have a conversation about what you need help with. We have tutors here. There are tutors everywhere. You can use things like Khan Academy and Crash Course. So many ways for you to learn, so many places for you to get information. But I appreciate the fact that we have trained professionals here and at many colleges across the Valley who are here to help prepare you, to get you ready for the next level. I would encourage you to take the time to look up vaccines. Let's get vaccinated so we can get back into a position where we're face to face and we could have these conversations with each other. And we could talk about moments when we're strong, and we can talk about moments when we feel weak. We can talk about moments when we feel questioned and we're questioning things. We can talk about it. And sometimes that's all someone needs. Call someone, tell them, hey, how are you doing? If you know a college student and they're away at school, or if they're going to school virtually, give them a ring, shoot them a text, let them know, hey, I've been thinking about you. Is there something I could do to help? Or maybe it's you. Maybe you need the help. Maybe you need someone to talk to. Maybe you need someone to have a shoulder to lean on. At the end of this presentation, you will be given resources. And you can click on these resources and able to get help for yourself. And as a parent, you can click on these resources too so you can get help for what you need, because navigating this space with a college student is difficult, especially a new college student, because people have not gone to college this way traditionally. This is a crisis response learning situation right now. And so we're gonna have some missteps. So if you got the C in the class and you wanted to get the A, I get it. You're disappointed. You feel sad. But the class is there. You did a good job. You got a C. Fantastic. But if you want to take it again, you can. But you may have issues with money, and there are resources out here to help you in this crisis, in this situation. So I encourage you to stay strong. Know that we're in this together. Know that you're not alone, but I'm not a stranger to the fact that you feel alone sometimes. So have a conversation with someone that you trust, and let's do this.
Martin Perez Jr. is currently the assistant principal for student success at Carl Hayden Community High School in the Phoenix Union High School District. Martin was the first in his family to attend and graduate college. Martin is currently pursuing a doctoral degree in education organizational leadership from Columbia University. He earned 2 master's degrees in education, in K-12 education and educational leadership from Arizona State University, and his Bachelor of Arts in Social Welfare from the University of California at Berkeley. Literally, straight out of Compton. 2, the Black, Brown, and College Bound Symposium is the esteemed Martin Perez Jr.
Thank you for that kind introduction. We are currently following CDC guidelines, and I encourage you all to follow those too. In order for you all to hear me loud and clear, I'm going to take off my mask. So you just heard from Ms. Collins. Ms. Collins shared with you all the challenges our college students are currently experiencing amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. As a high school leader, administrator, I'm here to share with you some strategies and some advice for you all to try to follow. The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted children at all levels. At our early childhood from birth to 5th, our students who are now in pre-K and kinder, all the way to high school and at the college level. High school students and parents, I know that you're going through so many different challenges. Today, I want to share with you 3 challenges, but at the same time, I want to make sure that I share with you not just the challenges, but very practical, hands-on strategies that you can do at home. One of them is everyday practices, known as routines. As a student, I know that at times you may feel hopeless. As a student, it's critically important that you treat every single day just as if you were getting prepared to go to school. Whether you took the bus, whether you walked home, or whether your guardian or family member drove you home, it's critically important that you continue to follow those routines. As a parent and guardian, it's just as critically important for you to support your child in ensuring that these routines are being practiced on a daily basis. As a parent, you have that task to ensure that your son or daughter are going to sleep at a decent time, they're waking up on time to show up to class, that throughout the day, you make sure that your son or daughter has those conditions, has the conditions to focus, because the days are very long. Secondly, social emotional. Social emotional, it's not new. Social emotional through research has been around since the early 80s. But however, with this pandemic, it's been amplified. So social emotional means the support and learning to our students who might be going through anxiety, levels of stress. So as a student and parent, you don't have to necessarily be on a school campus to receive these resources. Social emotional learning. Every campus has a team of to provide social emotional, and that usually consists of your school counselor, that consists of your school psychologist, your school nurse, and some schools, the school's mentors through community volunteers, your teachers. Currently, as a high school administrator in the Phoenix Union High School District, shout out to all you students and families from Phoenix Union. Thank you for being here today. As an example, for us, we have a team that is here to serve your needs. If you're in a different district, you also have access to those resources. As a parent, it's critically important that you keep an eye out and that you're not just observing, but you're also listening to some of the needs of your child. Again, these resources are available to you. And then lastly, academic support. You know, if whether you're in ninth grade and you unfortunately have not experienced the fun of what it comes to transition from middle school to ninth grade, it's okay. Or if you're a senior and you haven't had the opportunities to have fun with your friends over the past 4 years, that's okay too. However, you have to remind yourselves that as brown and black students, academically, you have to continue to remind yourselves that you have to reach out for help. You all have access to a school counselor. You all have access to your teacher. And you also have access to all the resources on your campus. As a school administrator, we are awaiting for you all to reach out. However, you need to remind yourself that you also have to, one, reach out to those resources. Lastly, as a guardian, family member, I want to challenge you all to reach out to every single resources that's available to you. Every district's different. Every high school's different. However, we need to make sure that you all feel supported. So again, everyday practices, known as routines. Number 2, social emotional learning and support. And number 3, academic support. Throughout this conference, you've heard from many caring individuals in our community. You've heard from Dr. Allen through her amazing keynote that this pandemic is real. This pandemic requires all of us to work as a team. You as a parent have that responsibility to not just ensure that your child is healthy and safe, but more importantly, that your child continues to learn amidst this pandemic. Again, remember, as a black and brown student, your task is to continue with that same ganas, with that same effort, and more importantly, with that same grit, because we all believe in you. Our community believes in you, our state needs you, and know that we're here to support your goals and dreams. However, today you've heard from many incredible speakers. A lot of these speakers, they face many challenges similar to the ones that you're facing today. However, I want to remind you that there's resources out there. This conference today is meant to do that. I myself, not too long ago, found myself in similar shoes like you all. I grew up in Compton, California, and I remember being a teenager, middle school and high school, and really finding myself challenged because the moment I leave my home and as I walked over to school, everyone talked about the importance of an education, but I didn't see that connection. However, through mentors, my teachers, school staff, and some similar speakers like the ones you heard from today, I realized that I needed to, one, make sure to work a little harder, to make my life better. You all have this opportunity, whether you're at the high school level, where you're in college, but also you parents as well. Like your child sees you as a role model. I want to encourage you, guardian, family member, to constantly remind your child of this unique opportunity. Now, if you're struggling academically, I also want to share with you and encourage you to reach out for resources. Every high school right now has more resources when it comes to tutoring. If you're in a class and you necessarily forgot to submit an assignment, that's known as constant recovery, which basically means that you're not going to fail a class, but you have an opportunity to make up your assignment, whether it's classwork, whether it's homework, whether it's an exam. Again, every district looks different, but right now more than ever, our tutoring resources are more. For example, you now have the ability to attend tutoring from your home throughout the week, and in some instances, some districts on weekdays, on Saturdays. So again, make sure that you take advantage of these academic services because you need to make sure that you pass every single class. Do not use the COVID-19 pandemic as an excuse to help you achieve your goals and dreams.
Rock is a spoken word artist, a poet, an author, and owner of a small business, Rock BNX LLC. As an African American and Mexicana woman, her life experiences play a major role in her art. She most recently wrote a book titled Rough Edges, a poetry collection which navigates the complexities of duality, love, loss, motherhood, friendship, and more in poetic form. She often encourages others, and especially students, to find healthy creative outlets and enjoys sharing ideas and thoughts to help people tap into their inner creativity. Rock, we look forward to your instruction and creativity.
Thank you for that introduction. We are adhering to CDC guidelines. We are 6 feet apart, so I'm going to go ahead and remove my mask so we can get started. It is extremely important to have some kind of creative outlet, and I would argue even more so during this time. Studies show that creative expression can help us understand our emotions, improve our mood, reduce anxiety, and positively impact our cognitive health. Now, creative expression comes in many forms. You may enjoy dancing, journaling, singing, skating, painting, and that's wonderful. Keep doing that. However, today we're going to discuss my favorite creative expression, which is poetry. As a poet and author, I'm going to share 2 short poems with you, and then we will do a mini creative writing session where you will write your own poem. If poetry is not your thing, no worries. This introductory writing, and I will walk you through step by step. I am torn between the very people who should accept me, the ones who should look at me and see a piece of themselves. But yet, I'm invisible. Even worse, I'm non-existent. My nappy hair and my brown skin only gets me so far. To them, I'm not up to par. My Spanish lacks the perfection that it needs, and my skin lacks the color of my African-American mother. I have learned to accept that acceptance is overrated. I cannot and will not try to please you by splitting myself into 2. I have the best of both worlds, even if you can't see me as a whole. My black and my brown are embodied in my soul. There is no separation or the choice of just picking one. I cannot be divided nor subtracted by one. My skin speaks the languages of my cultures intertwined. As my ancestors shine through me, I'll speak these words one last time. You look at me as one, or don't look at me at all. I am of both worlds, which in me will never dissolve. Next, I would like you to pause the video and grab a paper and pen as we're going to begin our writing exercise. I want you to think about your fondest memory. What is it? Where are you? Who are you with? How does it make you feel? Now let's go a little bit deeper. How does this memory shape your identity and who you are? How is it core to your identity? Please write down the answers to these questions. I would now like you to write how you think others would describe you. What are some words they would use? How do you make them feel? All the words you can think of, jot them down. Lastly, after reviewing your memory and adjectives, please write down what else you would say is core to who you are and your identity. Altogether, try to think of at least 5 to 6 descriptors. If you're having trouble, write down college student. Again, feel free to pause this video while you gather your thoughts and write them down. Now that you have 5 to 6 identifiers, I'm going to give you 3 poem options. You can complete whichever you would prefer, but before we move on to this section, I would like to share a few tips that work for me when writing. Try to find a distraction-free location. Know your peak times, meaning know when you're at your best, and write then. As an example, I tend to write at night because that's when I'm my sharpest. I strongly encourage writing all the way through, then going back to edit, because at times we will edit so much that we don't get anything down. Try to tell a story when possible. And finally, be authentic. Please listen to your options first and decide which you would like to pursue. Option 1, bio poem. Option 2, I am poem. Option 3, acrostic name poem. For a bio poem, simply write in your responses. You can use the adjectives you wrote down and possibly who your memory was with, if you choose to be a bit more personal. You can focus this poem on your college experience or whatever preference you have. The next slide will give you an example. Rock, mother, friend, wife, poet, daughter of Alice, who loves poetry, traveling, and education, who feels happiness, excitement, and hope, who fears instability, loss, and sickness, who graduated from a university, who would like to see more of the world and my children grow into great young adults. Welch. I shared with you a modified version of an I am poem with Torn. Now with this option, there's a couple of ways to approach this. It may be helpful to think about the memory you thought of earlier and describe that. You can simply fill in the prompts with whatever comes to your mind. Or I personally would write in the adjectives I wrote down previously for the I am sections and use that to help fill in each stanza. So in a way, working backwards. Choice is totally yours.
Rolling.
And your final option is to create an acrostic poem with your name. As an example, Rock. Ready to write, it's her greatest love. Openness with a stroke of pen. Can't stop her when she begins writing. Or respectful, open, caring. With acrostic poems, you'll write your name out and you will begin each line with a specific letter and write a sentence or simply a word about you. Feel free to pause, make your selection, and go to work. Happy writing. This is an acrostic poem called Resist. Wounded little girl, believe them when they say, your beauty is untouchable, miles and miles away. Remove those insecurities when the boys would laugh and tease, that your skin was not as smooth as satin on sheets, that your hair was too wild, too free, for they did not understand what a natural queen means. Wounded little girl, believe them when they say, your voice is powerful, too strong to shelter away. Evict those memories when they try to silence you. Diminish your thoughts when you knew what you said was true. They only try to drown you out because their fragility was bruised. Wounded little girl, you don't have to smile when they ask. Their comfort is not at the forefront of your plan. Treasures are guarded and not shared on demand. Stop trading your security to puppet at their will. You offer a smile only when you feel. Wounded little girl, you're allowed to be mad. You navigate a world that dictates what you do and governs your body without a clue. Insist on reform, speak out and fight. Women are as important as the stars and moon at night. You are the true guiding light. Wounded little girl, walk with pride.
You carry your heritage deep down inside. Ancestors' might will glide you on. Separate those who claim you don't belong. Channel your elders and persist on. Wounded little girl, you are worthy of love. A heart like yours was meant to be shared. When God created you, He created a pair. Sometimes it takes a couple of tries to find a love that is healthy and right. Tear down those walls you build so high. Allow yourself to be loved and treated right. Wounded little girl, you're so much more than your inner child gives you credit for. Suppress those thoughts she holds on tight, the insecurities, the fears at night. You are a warrior, powerful and free. I should know. The wounded little girl is me. So what's this have to do with college? As mentioned, creative expression is a good way to de-stress. If you at any time need a break in your academic journey, I would encourage turning to a creative outlet to assist in balancing your overall well-being. Specific to writing, you may have a creative writing segment in your English courses. In addition, activities similar to these can get your mind in the right place to sit down and begin scholarship writing. Note, I'm not recommending that you use these exercises in your scholarship applications, only to serve as an inspiration and ignite a spark when you're writing. Most of the time, scholarship committees want to know your story and want an authentic piece. I hope you're able to complete a poem and enjoyed writing. Please feel free to share your piece with me. My email can be provided upon request. Thank you, and I wish you the best in your future.
I am happy to recognize the Black, Brown, and College Bound team members and our sponsors. Yours truly, Michael Kelly, Chair of the Leadership Consortium, Joy Klein, Senior Director of Education and Scholarships, Arizona Community Foundation, Judy Reno, College Depot Director, Phoenix Public Library in the City of Phoenix, Sean Gear, President, Delta Beta Omega Chapter, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, and Phoenix Akarama Foundation, Dr. Eula Dean, member of Delta Beta Omega Chapter, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Inc., and Phoenix Akarama Foundation, Monica Moguillon, Community Outreach Coordinator for Community Outreach and Enrollment Development at Mesa Community College, Dr. Camila Westenberg, Professor Emeritus, Phoenix College, and creator of the HBCU Fair, Tim Valencia and Yvonne Pastor, my brother's keeper, Phoenix City Manager's Office, Dr. Larry Johnson, President, Phoenix College, and Marcelino Quiñeres, Director of the Educational Outreach and Partnerships, Arizona State University. Top Ladies of Distinction, Phoenix Chapter, and the Links Incorporated Phoenix Chapter, South Mountain Community College, Nikki Ironwood, Geeky Girls Design, Mustafa Johnson, Lowlight Media Productions, and Southwest Airlines.
I'll announce how we will award our contest winners right after this.
I pledge to spark acts of kindness.
One at a time.
Sprinkling compassion around the world.
I will practice hospitality.
Making people feel welcome,
cared for, and appreciated.
I will treat others with courtesy,
politeness,
and respect.
I will do the little things.
Because little things make a big difference.
I commit to putting my heart into action.
Sharing a smile and a little bit of love.
And making someone's day a little bit brighter.
The 2 Southwest Airline ticket winners and 6 $25 gift card winners will be announced in a recorded session after everyone completes the post survey. I will be selecting the winners at random through Wheel of Names type software. The winners will then be posted on the landing page and emailed to all participants. We encourage you to look forward to our next symposiums, and until then, stay smart and stay safe.